All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1000 Web Development Technologies course, I've been creating a series of video presentations based on the Mozilla Developer Network Learn Web Development series. And I'm in the third section on the Learn How to Style HTML using CSS, and there's 4 modules in there, and I'm in the second module, which is CSS building blocks. And what I'm going to cover now is, as you can see in there, how to handle different text directions. All right. Okay, it says many of the properties and values we've encountered so far have been tied to the physical dimensions of the screen, top, left, bottom, right, etc. All right. It says these physical dimensions map neatly to content when it is viewed horizontally, and by default, the web does tend to be, more the way we look at things in our country. That is left to right languages and read top to bottom. It says in recent years, however, CSS has evolved to provide better support for international, like right to left or, whatever it happens to be. So this particular section, and I don't plan on spending very much time on this, is talking about writing modes. As it says here, writing mode in CSS refers to whether the text is running horizontally, which is what we'd expect, or vertically. Now, sometimes you want to do stuff like this for effect. You're making a streamer, you're doing whatever, and there might be a reason for really doing that. All right. Sometimes when you do it, actually what happens is it was a mistake and you didn't mean to do it. All right. So they talk about the fact that there's 3 possible values for a writing mode property. Those being horizontal top to bottom, vertical right to left, and vertical left to right. All right. So it says the writing mode property is in reality setting the direction in which block level elements are going to be displayed, either from top to bottom, right to left, or left to right. Okay. All right. As mentioned here, we've already discussed block layout, and inline layout, and you know now the difference between block elements, which are designed to take up basically the entire line or the entire area in which they've been allotted to, and an inline element, which is usually part of a block element, or an inline element which only takes up part of the area. All right, so block and inline, as mentioned there, is tied to the writing mode of the content and not the physical screen. Blocks are only displayed from top to bottom of the page if you're using the writing mode that displays stuff horizontally like we do. So this is the way that we typically would set it up. Okay, so this, as it says, is writing mode horizontal top to bottom. This is writing mode vertical, all right, and it says RL, all right, so it says it's shown vertically and from right to left. Like I said, I didn't want to spend a lot of time on this just because I don't know. I would think that most of the work most of you are going to be doing is going to be national and not international type of work. So when we switch the writing mode, we are changing the direction, which direction is block and which direction is inline. All right, the block dimension, as it says, there is always the direction blocks are displayed on the page in the writing mode in use. Inline is the direction a sentence flows into. Okay. So again, there's different ways you can set it up. It's almost the equivalent of looking at it as right now. This is pretty much what we have here. It's almost like you're looking at a page in a landscape type of format as opposed to more in a portrait format. But here in portrait, you can see the length of the sentences are running differently. In addition to writing mode, we also, sorry, thought I turned my phone off. I apologize. It's the second time that I've had to pause this tape. Direction, as it says, in addition to writing mode, we have direction. Some languages, like Arabic, are written horizontally like English, but they go from right to left as opposed to left to right. It says, due to the fact that writing mode and direction of text can change, newer CSS layouts do not refer to left and right and top and bottom. Rather, they talk about start and end. And the reason for talking about this, it's twofold. One of them is we've become an international type of thing, not just national. All right. And the other, as it says here, because of the fact we've already looked at a lot of properties that are tied to physical dimensions. So it says, let's take a look at our two boxes again, one with the horizontal top to bottom and one with the vertical right to left. It says I have given both these boxes a width, and you can see that the box in the vertical writing mode still has a width, and it's causing the text in this case to overflow. What we really want, as mentioned, is the scenario is to essentially swap height and width along the writing mode. Right? In other words, you just want to make it fit. To make this easier, CSS has developed a set of mapped properties with logical or flow relative versions. As it says, the property mapped to width when in a horizontal writing mode is called inline size, and the property for height is named block size. Again, it's not my intention to spend very much time on this. I have never dealt with this stuff, so I'm just giving you, kind of spitting at you what I'm taking a look at here. All right, it says in the margin, border, and padding properties, you'll find many instances, again, of physical properties. Well, you've seen some of these already. You've seen margin top and bottom. You've seen padding left and right, etc. All right. So it says the margin top property is mapped to margin block start, the padding left to padding inline start, the border bottom to border block end, etc. So they've got a comparative type of thing here. Now, as far as logical values go from what they've talked about here, it says we have so far looked at logical property names. There are also some properties that take physical values of top, right, bottom, and left. These values also have mapping to logical values. So again, with all this stuff, we're again talking about probably a very limited usage for most websites. I'm not going to say it's never going to be used. How can somebody say something like that? All right. But especially if you're going to be doing something that's going to be national and not international, probably you're not going to, you're probably not going to have very much use for this. All right, last thing, should you use physical or logical properties? As it says, the logical properties and values are newer than their physical equivalents and therefore have only been recently implemented in browsers. You can check any property page on MDN to see how far back, or you can use something like can I use. All right, so the concept explained in this section are becoming increasingly important in CSS. You do have to have some kind of an understanding of it, I guess. But I'm getting ready to jump into the next section, which is on overflowing content. You already saw a very small example of that in a second, or just a second ago. And I have said this kind of thing to you before, but I will say it again. And the idea, the way that I look at overflowing content, which is what we're talking about next, is the proverbial trying to shove 10 pounds worth into a 5-pound bag type of an idea. So I'll come back to talk about that next in just a couple minutes.